On yo, yo, yo. We are back at it again. Welcome back to your Don't Listen podcast with your boy TP and your girl Fatima Mahdi. And yo, we got a special guest in the building or on your screens. My brother from another mother, you know what I'm saying? From DT, one of DT's finest, Dewaun is in the building. What's good, bro?
You gotta say it like we going to a match because he always got something to say. So you gotta be like Dewaun is in the building.
Thank you. I'm giving it up like that. All right, well, let me give it up like that.
Come on, do it again, cuz.
Yo, special guest in the building tonight. My brother from another mother. DT's finest, one of Dewaun Kearse in the building. Stop playing.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you. What's going on, people? How's my people doing today?
Yo, everything is everything, and
all right.
Always say have you on tonight. Yeah, it's definitely a big day. It's a great day. You get to see a familiar face.
Thank you for having
like me. I said, my brother from another mother, man, we was running around together when we was barely talking. So
yeah, a lot of people don't realize that like a lot of our close friends don't realize you was one of my first friends ever. And it's always funny, man, when people start going down memory lane, like, oh, who the oldest? Who's your oldest Facebook friend in real life? I was like, well, shit, only but one person, Terrence Perry.
Okay.
TP. I'm sorry, I don't want to let you go. TP.
Yeah.
Nah. Hey, man, they can see the name on the screen, so it's all good.
Yeah. Back when Khalif Khalif and Tehran used to play kung fu and behind Mrs. King houses in the alley.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Running up his mom's store credit at Dave's store, but I don't want to give up the tapes.
You just did.
Oh man, bro, brought it out.
Yeah, man.
Definitely was great days. It was a whole different world back then.
Yeah, it was.
And we basically took care of each other. And the moms and the dads took care of all the kids that ran around the neighborhood. So it was definitely a different time, something definitely that's being missed by the youth today. That's a fact.
Right.
And,
I feel like even though a lot of the times, even when I've been everywhere I've been lived, I say I'm from Camden, you know what I'm saying? And anybody that has the history of that, they be like, what? They expect me to act a certain way or be whatever. I get ratchet. It's okay. But what I'm saying is, they have an ideology of how we were because of all of the dynamics that we were raised around. But what you're talking about, as far as the parental energy in the hood was always, it was okay for your neighbor to check you. Some neighbors, because some neighbors was hateful. You know what I mean? But you knew it was a majority of the neighbors that was going to look out for you. Like block parties was done. We had community, not just violence,
Yeah, I think it's a difference now. Like most people move into developments and they're not neighborhoods, right? So, back in the neighborhood, parents knew where their kids were and they felt empowered to help raise other kids.
Right.
So you was cutting up. I mean, you got to talk to very seldomly did you get beat. And I know that's the big narrative we like to talk about. Oh yeah, so-and-so tighten you up and you got it when you got home too. I don't think I saw too much of that unless she was really out of pocket. But for the most part, it really was a community effort, right? You couldn't be 2 blocks over and somebody not be on the phone saying, oh, he's over here. I seen your boy over here, or you know what I mean? So it's a huge difference where we are now. It's sad when parents got to set up play dates for their kids. Whatever happened to going to school and making friends,
right?
and dealing with bullies. Like, now kid get bullied. He
But
want to
we
shoot.
had bullies.
Yeah. Now we
We
dealt with
had
bullies.
bullies. We had all that
Yeah.
stuff. The dynamics was different because the bullies was a different thing. Like, I don't know if kids is carrying guns in school. We was before the metal detectors.
Way before.
You
Which
know
is
what I
which,
mean? So
yeah.
you don't want
Which
to.
is
Real talk. But I mean, we learn how to settle things and understand energies and where we are and what neighborhoods not to go into just to survive sometimes. Not saying we was punks because we could get to it, but that is always beautiful to see that element that we had learned just from watching it, that community vibe. So that's kind of the subject where you want to talk about it, touch on all of those things that people don't really address.
Yes. Thanks for having me on today, guys. I really want to kind of get the radar up on everybody, get it on everybody's radar about estate planning and living wills and all that other stuff. The one thing we all got in common is we all going to die at some point. We all got an expiration date.
That's a fact.
Some sooner than others. Some people, outlive the entire families. But one thing that's consistent is that, you can't outrun that clock. But what we need to really focus on in our community is we need to kind of put some attention around planning for the unexpected. Because, nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to talk about what happens. Because there's worse things than death. You can be paralyzed in a nursing facility. You could be.
I want to touch on that when we talk about death and where we come from as far as Camden. We witness deaths in a way that I would think is exponential. Like it was always somebody that we knew that was getting shot, getting killed. You know what I mean? And those dynamics, and even now with the natural occurrences, like you said, we're all not, that's the one thing we're all promised is death, you know what I'm saying? But death is really, really forefront for people that live in the hood, especially. It's for everybody. But the mortality rates and different things is more heavy. And this in another way, we got more drug addicts, we got more liquor stores, we got more women having SIDS deaths because of not eating properly. We got a whole lot of people just like not eating properly, period. Children that's going to school, malnutrition. We got a whole lot of different dynamics right inside of one area. And I'm not saying we all live there now. We do. That's where I'm from, whatever. But what I'm saying is those things are very apparent and also to the people every day. But also, we're also talking about, you said estate planning, a living will. A lot of people in those areas don't own anything.
Yeah, that's true. But here's the thing. It's more than what you own. It's what you don't want to leave on your children, on your parents, whatever. Because death costs money. To bury somebody costs money. And, I see it all the time. There's always a what do you call them things? A GoFundMe page just to bury somebody.
Right.
And I think as adults, as responsible adults, once you start having children, you need to start trying to figure out how to ensure your wishes are carried out in the event that you're incapacitated for a long time, in the event that you die prematurely. And I also feel like as parents, we sometimes have to, carry insurance for our children until they get to a point where they can carry insurance for themselves. And that's something that a lot of folks have to talk about, right? Because because what happens when you, like I said, this thing's worse than death. You can have cancer and be terminally ill for years, right? Yeah. And there's costs associated with that. There has to be some kind of strategy, rather being charity care.
So did you tell, instead of charity care, asking for people for help? I'm gonna say this for myself. Is this something that I talk about openly at work? You know what I'm saying? I talk about it openly, period. I had 6 years ago, I had a son pass away. So this is something serious to me. I had my son pass away. It was unexpected, as death always is.
Right.
But I never asked for like a GoFundMe or anything, but it was just organizations that could help me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That helped me with I cremated them. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I mean, luckily that was there because it's a business. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
these people's getting paid some type
Yep.
of way, you know, but this is even a fun if to me, like even people don't want to go that far into another business, create one yourself. Put
Right.
donations every month, you know what I mean, for
Yep.
the mothers that can't bury their sons or their
Yeah.
daughters in a pot, and it help and it goes to the people, whatever. And you keep putting money in it in the
Yep.
community.
Yep. And that's exactly why we need to talk about these things as a community, because
Right.
not everyone has the money to bury a child or to cremate a child. And, you know, I think for the most part, family and friends tend to rally in times like that, right? They kind of rally around that person and
Right.
hopefully they make it to the finish line, whatever it might be. However, you know, there's people that don't have those options, but have other options, you know.
Right.
You know, I always try to suggest a holistic approach to things. You know, one of the things I always tell my wife whenever we're trying to plan something, either around the house or whatever, I always say you can do things in today's dollars or you can do them in tomorrow's dollars. And tomorrow's dollars is always much more. And, you know, you can actually prepay a funeral home for
Right.
services. You know what I mean? And like I look at my father-in-law, he bought his he took care of all of his services like 20 years ago. And it's interesting to me because 20 years ago, you know, the price to bury somebody was like $2,500
Right.
or between 2,500 and 500, whatever it was. But now, you know, between inflation and everything else that's going on, you know, it's like they're racking it up. And
the prices is going up because of COVID.
Yeah,
too.
it's supply and demand.
The
And it's
blind
when
man.
and there's always a demand for funeral homes. You
Right.
know, like I said, because everybody's going to die. So
Right.
you know, it's one of those things where, you know, we as a community has to start looking at, okay, what's realistic. You know, I say to people all the time, you know, don't rule out cremation. You know, sometimes it's better to have a cremation and a service,
Right.
because one of the things that's really tragic about death is these funeral homes are like, they're like vampires. They want to put you in a $10,000 casket telling you, oh, it's waterproof. It don't matter. That thing's going to take on water eventually.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
and it's
And who's going to dig you up?
right.
Right.
You know?
And it's going to decrepit too. The box after a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, it's going to deteriorate. You know what I'm
That's
saying? So ain't
yeah,
nobody. My thing, and that might be something, you know, sensitive to somebody, but it was a lot I had to deal with my emotions, but I had to deal with what was at hand. And, you know, so just even telling people or all right, right now my nephew is working in, he works for what's the one in downtown in Camden?
Flipping. Are they still down there?
Maze.
Talking about the funeral home? Maze?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, recently we had a few deaths in our family. So I learned a lot from him because he handles everything, like calling the insurance and
Yeah.
he telling me exactly write this out and have it notarized and
Yep.
you know, especially like stuff like this. If we're doing stuff like this, you don't get to a living will where you're full mind, like, and say this goes somewhere, like you live and you ain't got nothing written, like who's supposed to take over, who's supposed to do this, who handles this, who gets this, whatever. A lot of times people go crazy when they see the money involved.
Yeah, and I think that's even more important. If you have something to leave, whether it be insurance or 401k or a house or hell, you can have a pickup truck and 2 pairs of Jordans in your closet. If it's something that people are going to fight over, it's best
Right.
to sit down.
A
And with
lot of people are
technology,
in probate court. A lot of
yeah,
a lot of people in the hood don't know about probate court. Going to
yeah,
probate court, it to prove that this property belongs to you, and you don't even got to go there if you have these living wills.
yeah. And especially when it comes to real estate. With real estate, you can do what's called a transfer on death, right? And
Okay.
it's something you file with the county. So any of, like, for example, I have a transfer on death. So if I die, immediately the property gets transferred to my wife 100%. Because right now we're both on the deed. But when I go or she goes, then there's only going to be one person that needs to be on the deed.
Right.
You see what I mean? This will
Yeah.
actually, this will save you money with probate. This will save you money with attorneys. There's a lot of things you can do to get ahead, to get ahead of these things. I always say, it's as simple as this. If there's siblings involved, like if you have siblings, it's best that all the children get together with the parent and sit down to talk about their wishes and then write it down. And after it's written down, take it and have it notarized. And that's the funny thing about wills. You can write something on a piece of paper, any piece of paper. And once it's notarized, it's an official document.
Right.
You can take a seat, you can make a video recording and email it.
Right.
And say, hey, my name is, Dewaun Kearse, and I leave, everything to my wife. And this will dated on such and such date supersedes all previous wills.
It's a living document.
And now it's a valid document. It has a timestamp. Once it's been sent via email, it has a timestamp. People can do this all day.
Right.
And there's things that, that they're not doing. So what happens is when the loved one dies, especially if a parent dies, the kids start fighting over everything. And that's really sad because,
it's a place where you don't need to go. It's unnecessary stress.
Right.
It's unneeded. It doesn't have to be that way. If, one thing, I think a lot of times people don't talk about death or don't want to have that conversation, but it's the real thing because they don't understand what it is.
Right.
Real talk.
Yep.
Afraid of the unknown, but you know that you're gonna go. Don't matter.
Well,
And if you feel like you ain't living right, get right. Or what you say?
That was definitely like part of the reason why, when D said that he would come on, I was, I wasn't very like sure on the topic or anything like that because it's really an uncomfortable thing to talk about. Death. I don't think nobody want to talk about their eventual thing that's going to happen, but a brother like you that's educated on it and sis know what she talking about. I'm sitting here listening myself because I'm getting information that that I didn't even know. That's why I like to have these type of conversations because there's people out here that do know more than you, and you should be willing to listen and willing to take that information in and use it in your life. That's part of the reason why it was an easy choice to bring you on here and talk about that. And I'm glad you're doing it because I don't know nothing about that. And go ahead and keep talking, brother.
I was going to say, I look at it as pretty simple. Like, I think once you start having a conversation, it's not uncomfortable anymore because now it's a matter of, okay, well, these are my wishes. Like, especially as parents. As parents, we have to make decisions for our children now. So imagine if we're not there prematurely. So, you know what I mean? Like, we have to be able to say, okay, I still have a child in college. I know maybe the insurance to cover the house and pay the house off, but I got these other debts because another thing that I think a lot of people underestimate is your estate can be sued if you owe money. So let's say a $100,000 policy and you got $20,000 in credit cards, you owe $20,000 on the car, you might have student loan debt. Certain entities will not waste any time to sue your estate. Now, some entities will just say whatever. Like, for example, student loans. Most student loans die with that person. I don't recall ever hearing not to my knowledge, of the government or a bank going after somebody's estate
No,
or
it
student.
does with you to some of it, but some of the if you is this your ward, your this estate is your ward, then you're
Right,
responsible. Like
right,
hospital bills and
right, right.
different things
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those like medic,
But some like credit cards and stuff can
like
be
Medicare.
X'd out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Medicare will put a lien on your property,
Yeah.
and even if you own it outright, if you owe Medicare money and your kids go to sell that property, they're gonna have to satisfy that lien. And a lot of
Right.
people get a reality check at the closing table, thinking that they're going to get $100,000 off a house that's worth $100,000, but didn't know that mom had $80,000 in bills that's owed to Medicare, and Medicare will take their money. And here's the other
Real
thing,
quick,
yeah.
especially if
So
it's a check. The check
yeah,
got to go through a federal system, and the federal system is going to get their money first.
and that's why, and that's why it's critical that you understand what you have, and timing is critical too, because you can actually put your house in your children's name and avoid all that as long as it's
You
done
could put
3 years.
a house, a property, a car under a LLC if you have a business.
Yeah.
You selling them chicken dinners and all that, you know what I'm saying? You could put your property under the LLC and still write that in your living will for your family to take over that.
Right.
Or not, and it's not associated with your credit. It's associated with your EIN number.
Right. So there's a lot of avenues that people can use. Now, I don't
Right.
think the average person is probably have an LLC, but the average person will have something, rather be an insurance policy, rather be a house, rather be a car. It could be a collection of watches. It could be anything, but it's very
Your
critical.
records,
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
that you bought and paid for, anything, even intellectual property like
Yeah.
writings,
Yeah.
anything that has your energy signature on it can be put in a living will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's why
I
I'm
think,
saying it's for people that do have LLCs or businesses, and not in a grand Walmart way. You can
right.
leave those things. You could put, cars and things under that and leave that to your family.
Yeah. And and then there's what happens if I'm in a coma, right? People don't talk about that.
No,
I've seen situations where one child wants to pull the plug and let daddy go, and the other
right,
child is saying, no, you ain't killing my daddy.
right.
So, what would you want to do in that situation? Would you say, hey, the longer I stay hooked up, the bigger that bill is going to be for my children, which is going to be
Right.
more they're going to take away from what I have. You know what I mean? Maybe
Let
you
me tell
said,
you something. Like it's called an advance. One of them, part of it is called like an advance directive. Like if things
yep,
happen to you, what a lot of times at work I have to ask. A lot of people don't even know what that is.
yep.
They don't. I
They
have to ask you, do you have an advance directive?
yep,
And they do not know what that is or care enough.
yeah. And it's imperative that everybody's on the same page. And
Right.
everybody doesn't need to be on the same page after it happens. I think that's really the point. The point is for people to start sitting down with their parents or their loved ones and being able to say, hey, look, if anything happens to me, there's a folder in my
Right.
closet. And in that folder is going to have everything you need. It's going to have phone numbers, account numbers, whatever the case. If
But let me
anything,
say something to you. I got to change up the energy real quick. You know what? The other show, if you listen to it, I called you a black white man. I did. Because I called you the black white man because you confidently talk about things that you always been this way. You confidently talk about things that people don't want to address.
yeah,
And from a business perspective, hood perspective, things that it's like a whole dynamic, like a worldly view
right,
that you present yourself as. And I think that's dope. Like even this, like how you just saying it with no emotion, that's always you, that's authentic. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to call, talk to your kids. This folder here in my closet, go get this. But that's real though.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's very real because, you know, when you see the other side of it, when you see people like they were so close, you know, you see them on Facebook. My sister, I love, nothing could separate us. You know what I mean? I love, you know what I mean? Family over everything. People love to say this shit until somebody die.
Till somebody die.
Yeah, then it's like, fuck that bitch. I'll murder that bitch if she tried to take my money. It's like, whoa, what happened?
It's a whole other ballpark. Yes.
What happened to family?
You agree to that, you know what I'm saying? Like you plan, like whatever it is. If it's your furniture, it's your favorite clothes, it's whatever.
It's just emotions.
Whatever you pay for. If you got purses, then nobody got to go through the purses. This purse belonged to this person said by this. You know what I mean? You always like my purse. Here you go. You know what I'm saying? You can get that detail. If you don't feel like you have any property, you know what I'm saying, or cars, because that could be the case too. You might not have that. You might live in an apartment. You know what I'm saying? And flowers that you plant. You know what I'm saying? You could give that to such and such. It ain't no problem. But people get that petty and be fighting over a plant.
Or even as basic as, do daddy want to be buried or do he want to be cremated?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? Because somebody might want to go to the gravesite and visit it. Somebody might want a piece of him hanging around their neck. Somebody want.
You know what? My dad, on April 22nd, this was the anniversary of my dad passing, right? On the 2-year anniversary, kind of, I'm gonna say we lucked out, and I'm not gonna say it like we lucked out because it happened right when that COVID stuff started, and so he was Muslim anyway. He wanted to be buried in 3 days, but even that costs money, and I ain't saying he ain't have insurance or any of those things, but you know, with COVID, they was getting them in and out.
Right.
Everything you had to have planned, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Real quick.
Yep. And I think it's especially critical. And then you just brought in a great addition to the conversation. What about the religious component of things, right? Because there's that. And all of that need to be outlined, because you need to communicate that with whoever's preparing the body. You need to communicate with the insurance company. You might have to communicate with the hospital with releasing a body, or a hospice center. And sometimes just having the person designated to do those things saves people a whole ton of effort.
Right. It does. Especially if like you saying, the religious component, like some people have a Christian family, but they chose Islam as their way of life. I feel like if that's how that person wants to be buried, because that was their way of life, you should respect those wishes. It don't have nothing to do with you.
Right. So then what happens when, you know, the wife who's been divorced for 2 years or 5 years and have children, Christian children, but the husband or ex-husband is Muslim. Right. You know what I mean? Like now there needs to be an established instruction as to what needs to be done. And sometimes people take that stuff for granted until they're in the thick of it. So, you know, I encourage people all the time. You know, I'm a public notary. I prepare wills and trusts for free and notarize for free, and try to encourage people, like, listen, if you don't know, start that conversation. Say, hey, listen, if something happens to me, you know, send me to Carl Miller or send me the whatever that one is on 95th Avenue, whomever. You know, at least talk to somebody about it. You don't have to talk to everybody if you don't want to, but find that one person that you can say, hey, listen, these are my instructions. And then tell another person that person is going to be the contact. You know what I mean?
I don't get it, right? Come on. To me, this was my eye opener, where I had personal things happen to me. Like I said, I had to bury my own baby. Right. So that brought me to another awakening of dealing with it, and you can't escape. So what I'm saying is, I don't understand how people, religious, non-religious, whatever, you know what I'm saying, but mainly so religious people have a problem with talking about death, because y'all talk about Jesus died, Muhammad died, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got visuals of Jesus on the cross.
Celebrate
you know
every year.
Muslims don't have pictures, you know what I'm saying? So we gotta visualize in our mind, our third eye,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, about, but you talk about death all the time. You know what I'm saying? So why isn't it real to you if this is the master you serve? Like the non-religious people, you know what I'm saying? The spiritual people, you know what I mean? You know, you came from darkness into darkness, you return. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't understand. To me, I can relate because I dealt with something that who wants to really think about their mother passing? But I really think from a mental health perspective, it's a good thing to deal with it without it happening.
Right.
Do the other stuff.
Yep. You know, it's funny. It's funny you mention that because one time I was doing some contracting work for a church, and I drove all the way down to North Carolina. And as soon as I got there, this storm just appeared out of nowhere. It's like a hurricane. And we met at a restaurant, and it was about 30 congregants and the pastor. And the storm came in like gangbusters. It got dark. I mean, it went from sunny to like pitch black dark in a matter of like 40 minutes, right?
Right.
And he started cowering under the tables and everything else. And I'm sitting there on business with the church, and I'm like, listen, I said, what's wrong with you people? I said, you guys, you believe in God, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, you believe there's a better place, right? Yeah. So why are you worrying about what's going to happen here?
Right.
See, once you accept death for what it is,
right?
If I'm a spiritual person and I believe and I believe I'm going to go there, right? Or paradise, whatever. Am I really worried about what's going to happen here?
Right.
You see what I mean?
Thing is, let me keep it real with you, right? In North Carolina, right? Mm-hmm. You ever been through a hurricane? Like we in Jersey, we get the little light hurricane.
Yeah, we don't get hurricanes up here. Yeah.
We get a little light hurricane. But
not
in
yet.
the South, when them winds hit and it sound like a train whistle, like, it's another story. That's the fear, Lord, or whoever.
but
you're like, oh, what's going on with a whole tree? A whole tree in a house?
I used to have that same fear, if you will. And
it is what it is. I remain calm and stuff like that, but you know.
Once you recognize who you are and where you are in this world, I guess, like to me, death is going to come.
So you two motherfucker, cool. Hold on, I need to
three ways.
You break a sweat, motherfucker. Hold on.
In 3 ways, either my hand, somebody else's hand, or God's hand. It will happen.
Okay. Oh, it will, y'all.
It will happen.
That's a fact.
I need to make you break a sweat because you did too damn smooth.
But the thing about it is, it's just like work. That job will end by my hand, their hand, or God's hand. And once you recognize that, you can't. What's there to fear?
Well, it's no fear. It's nothing. Absolutely, I totally get it.
So now we're talking about, you know, like I don't want to compare life to work. But what I'm trying to correlate though is that, you know, whenever somebody holds something over your head, like, oh my God, yeah,
they hold it over your bald head. Let's see your head. Hold on.
I don't work stuff because here's the thing.
Okay.
I know my kids will go on without me.
Okay.
My wife will go on without me. My family will go on without me. Now, what I would hope is that my time here would have made enough of a difference. I've imparted enough knowledge on them, so when they move on and they go on without me, they can move. They can have a continuous drive.
So with all of that, because you're saying this without emotion, and obviously this is a subject that's full of emotion. That's why people don't like to talk about it. Right. You know what I'm saying? The imagination of thinking of losing someone. You know what I mean? People can't real talk. They break up in a relationship. It's like a funeral.
Yeah.
They be going through it, you know what I mean? Every once in a while, you get to tear your eyes because you missed that thing.
Take a break. We're back. This is the Don't Listen podcast with Fatima Mahdi and your boy TP with a special guest, Dewaun Kearse, speaking on financial planning, an event of death in the family, and we're going to get back to it. So let's go. D, you
I think
was touching on something a minute ago, and Fatima was talking when we first went out.
Yep.
So let's
I think
finish
she
up
got the
with,
floor.
yeah,
I,
Fatima,
I,
you back on the mic and go ahead and finish what you was
I was
saying.
talking about the mental health perspective of dealing with death. For me personally, I don't, I feel I'm at a place now that I feel those that return back to the essence and the spirit leave them, that they're on the other side working for us.
Hmm.
I don't feel like energy never dies. Maybe the physical body dies, but not the energy of the person. The energy of a person is what creates the memory. You holding on to that energy. So I feel like they working for me on the other side. So the way that I deal with it, and I feel like I came to that point with me dealing with it on a more personal level. You know what I'm saying? So, but I see the mental health perspective of people. Everybody deal with it in their own way. Some people become depressed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They become suicidal. They become addicts at this point, you know, because they're trying to feed the pain. So I wanted to talk about the mental health perspective of death and what does Dewaun suggest of how people deal with that part of it.
So, like most things in life,
Mhm.
the way I kind of treat things is I have a counselor with me at all times. And my counsel could include Terrence and some of our childhood friends. And we might not see each other every day, but there's a certain responsibility we hold to each other, right? So, you hear people say like my A1 day ones. Well, when you break that down and you really kind of look at relationships with people, these people are the most entrusted people in your life. So for me, I try to keep my counsel close. So when people start to experience death, loss, hell, it don't have to be death. Your house could burn down. People deal with that. That's equally rough. To lose a job unexpectedly and have bills that is just stressful. I think it's critical. It's especially critical that your council members are readily available during death.
See, I'm gonna say this too because that subject of death, like for me, what drove me to heal on my own was because people was like, the first responses that I got was, it's okay, you can have another baby. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? That is true that you can.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is right now I'm hurting and you want me to be quiet about it. Don't cry. Give me a tissue. No, let me cry. That's how I need to get it out. People are uncomfortable with the situation so much that before they even, that's what's keeping away from people planning for it and different things, is because the mental health perspective of it is they don't want to accept that that is the final destination on this plane.
Right.
So I see recently July, I had in 2 days I had 3 people die. My sister, my ex, and my stepdaughter had passed away in a matter of 2 days. Everybody kept saying me, I was singing, I was dancing, I was making jokes, not saying that I was hurting. I was hurting in my way. But the one thing that kept me going, it was saying they recognized something in me, and this is why I should just keep on going and utilize that energy for it. So I got a lot of backlash for just singing and dancing and getting up every day. This gave me a purpose to live more instead of cowering into a fear that shouldn't exist. I created. Like, if I'm afraid of something that is as natural as me breathing, death is as natural as me breathing.
That's right. It is.
I would say too, like, how can somebody tell you how to grieve? Like,
Yeah, everybody grieves
Because I
differently.
don't feel that people know they are not, even though people portray that they have this great strength, they really don't. And that's okay. Like, I am, this is how I'm comfortable. This is how I grieve. This is how I cry. I cry too. You know, I'm not afraid to show who I am in all of the aspects. But I feel that people try to create this front that they're strong and strength in every aspect, but don't want to deal with the one aspect that's inevitable. Inevitable. You may not have a baby. You may not have a marriage. You may not have a business, but you
Right.
will have death.
That's right. That's right. That's one thing that's guaranteed. And here's the, I think here's the, so there's, you touched on a lot of stuff. And I think a lot of what you experience is a byproduct of us as a nation of people and what we've been conditioned, right? Fathers have been conditioned for generations not to show emotions. And then that translates to translate in other ways, you know, be tough, you know, don't cry. Right.
right.
And then instead of us being able to really say, hey, it's okay. You know, listen, me and Nardi was best of friends. He was in my wedding. He lived around the corner. We'd have a standing lunch every week. We'd clown people. I mean, we'd go on all kinds of stuff. And when his sister called me and said Nardi died, now, and imagine this, I had just had lunch with him. And I'm like, died? Like, what you mean died? Like, the fuck you mean died?
Right.
You know? So that kind of ripped my core out. But I couldn't process that right away. I just was like, I mean, I was sad naturally. I cried and all that other stuff. But, you know, 2 weeks later, I'm sending him a text message out of just knee-jerk reaction. Something I saw, and I'm like, oh shit, he ain't there anymore.
Right.
You know? And even a year later, you know, me and Mel walk in the park, whatever, and then I just start thinking, I tell Mel a story, and it hit me hard. And it's okay to grieve, right?
Right.
And to your point, like when Nasir died, his family cremated him, and we were all at his memorial service telling these crazy ass jokes, and somebody might have been like, look at them disrespectful motherfuckers. But the thing about it is, if they knew our relationship with Nasir,
right,
and if they knew how long we went, then they would know that's how we were with him, and that's what he would want. So, you know, you can't. I really find it interesting when people try to assign like a checkbox of what to do in terms of grieving. Oh, you should, okay, be strong. Don't cry too much in public. You can always do this. The best way to get over somebody is get under somebody. You know, like these stupid, these stupid things. These stupid, I call them social abnorms. And this is, I think, why Terrence and I were, TP and I were having this conversation while we were kind of waiting to get things started again. I said, you know, there's a culture of ignorance and back thinking that we really need to disassociate ourselves with, right? I think Chris Rock said it once, there's a war going on between the blacks and the niggas are women. It's
they
okay.
Are. And you know
it's
what?
Okay.
That's why I know I'm glad I know both sides of the track, because we can get to it. Okay, I'm gonna say it that way. But you know what? I don't even have to waste my energy with it now. Like when I like addiction is real in our neighborhoods, and you know what I'm saying, that we grew up in, and sometimes it's not even recognized as addiction. Real talk. And the mental health perspective that goes along with addiction. So, you know, when I come back, you know what I mean, and I'll even get the little thing like when I come visit, like, what y'all doing? Y'all wanna go do something, you know what I mean? No, we just sitting around, we drinking. I ain't saying that I don't want to do that, but let's do something else. We was doing that in 2000, you know what I mean, 1996.
Right.
And that ignorance, like you, addiction is even higher, highly associated with death.
Yep.
It's in your face every day.
Yeah.
You don't know if that last drink cirrhosis is real. You know what I mean? You drinking every day.
Yeah.
You don't eat properly. You know what I'm saying? That death is real for you. You can't operate without getting up in the morning and getting a drink so you can operate. That is real. Let's even talk about marijuana. A lot of the times, you know what I mean? Because it's socially normal to, and especially now because it's recreational, and not recreational in Jersey, but it's recreational in
no, it's recreational here now.
It's
recreational
but it's
here now.
medicinal. Like even people are addicted to marijuana now. You cannot operate.
It's recreational here now. You know that, right?
No, I didn't.
But I'm saying, what was it? Last week?
Yeah, it was April 20th. April 20th.
Every 21st.
I'm saying I ain't knocking it because I'm saying marijuana does some. It is a drug that has healing properties. It helps people with PTSD. You know,
so does alcohol.
Yeah, everything ain't for everybody, but everybody want to do it. So
I'll say this.
I'm saying, like, real talk is I see a lot of, people robbing you to get a blunt now.
Yeah, so that's why I talk about we need to divorce ourselves from this backwards culture. There's so many things that's like a rabbit hole we can go down and go into different areas, but as it relates to estate planning,
right?
Living wills,
bringing it back. Okay. I'm just trying to break
those do not resuscitate orders. Those DNRs and all those things people need to think about. And it doesn't take any time to really sit down and say, all right, well, if I'm incapacitated, how long do I want them to fight for me?
Real talk. Let me give y'all an example. You know what I'm saying? I work in mental health, so that means I see people that have attempted to commit suicide. I talk to people that thought about it. People that may have had so much trauma and they don't want to let it out because society tell them to hold it in, have become addicts. I'm not knocking any of their journeys. That's where they are. But the one thing is, like, I see people come in with, they got it written on their forehead, DNR.
Yeah.
I see people because I see people with nooses around their neck, the burn mark from the noose around their neck. So every day that I work, I'm facing some form of death.
Right.
Or the energy of it, they want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would like, that's why I'm going back to the mental health perspective, but we dealing with it like it's a thing that is promised to us, but live right now, live enough and know that you want, when you're no longer living, everything is set up for the people in your lives. Whereas none of this stuff that we see all the time, fighting at funerals, baby mamas, the baby that nobody knew about show up.
Yeah.
The movies that we watch is real in our lives, everybody's lives. You can understand, the auntie showed up, she ain't come around, and she said, you know what I mean?
I don't think the majority of our community even understands the importance of securing the death certificate. Who's going to do that? How many copies do you order? If there's children involved, make sure that a copy gets sent to Social Security so the kids can collect benefits. I mean, there's a whole magnitude of paperwork and everything else that comes with death.
Oh, let me ask you this. With that, do you have, because you're saying you're helping people, do you have like a website or something where people can go to and you can assist them through this process?
No, but not to say that there's not any. I mean, you can Google. You can go to LegalZoom.com.
You offer the notary services.
Yeah, I do. Okay. But typically what I do is I have a Facebook group, Landlord Diaries. And that's back when I was heavy into real estate, and I would offer those services, free of charge. Somebody wants to set up a will. You have a general template. put some names in
Okay.
it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it's something that we could actually circulate through the community.
I
You
have a
don't.
question. You talked
Sure.
about real estate, real talk, and I know I have a property in Michigan, right?
Okay.
Me and a friend of mine is on the deed. But this is real talk. What the friend of mine did when I vacated, well, anyway, the friend of mine did a quick claim deed with somebody else without their knowledge that I'm a owner of this property. My name is registered with the state.
So the county didn't pick up on that when they processed the deed.
I alerted them. I'm gonna have to alert them again because that's a false document. So at that time, because he didn't alert this other person that I'm on the deed, this is my property.
Well, what they could do is they can give up their claim of their property, and that new person will be on the deed with you, but they can't sell that property without you. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah,
So in other words, let's
absolutely.
say, yeah.
He can't do nothing with the property I own. If I wanted to move back in it, it's mine.
No, technically it's y'all's property.
Ours.
Yeah, ours. Yeah.
So the other person that put this quick claim deed actually gave his portion of the property to this person, but he's still registered with the state. The other guy isn't registered with the state. They try to do
so it sounds like they just did a quick claim, but they never filed it with any county.
They never filed it.
To which case, you can create 5 of them quick claim deeds.
Right, you can do it real quick. But what I'm saying is, because that's a property. I got land and a property, and I wanted to leave that to my children, but it's mixed up with all that other stuff. So I'm gonna just go. I know I have to go to court.
I'm about to say, the first thing I'll do is try to secure the property, legal rights to the property. Now you have partial legal rights, another person has partial. They could sell their claim or stake, if you will.
Yeah.
And that new person would be co-owner with you. However, some places have
pay
laws
me for
around
my portion of the property.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that would be the smart thing, is just to buy you out, But and who's paying the taxes?
Since he wanted to play grown up, you know what I mean. He did it for the last year. Yeah.
So you might want to stay on top of that too, because then he could raise a claim that you didn't pay your half of the taxes, and try to force you out, put a lien against your half. Yeah, so it gets tricky when but anyhow, but a lot of folks don't take the time to identify, hey, I have property in Michigan that you're entitled to. I have, it all comes out. Recently, a friend of mine experienced a wake-up call when trying to deal with inherited property. Come to find out, the property was never changed over when one of the spouses died. So typically what would happen is, let's say I die.
Mm-hmm.
My wife should change the deed over to just her.
Right.
But if she don't do that, and then she go to sell a house, now she got to prove that I died. And then she got to prove that we were married. And then she got to prove a whole lot of
different steps that you don't have to take. Yeah. I get it.
That's why a transfer on death is important for married people.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why it's very critical to have your business handled, at the time of death, because a lot of stuff come back through probate, or if there's insurance money involved, somebody can literally say, I'm that child, I'm that person's child. And then you have to go through this long drawn out process of, one, proving that person is that child's parent, and then 2, trying to identify if they're legally entitled to anything. But if you have it all defined in the beginning, or you're live, where you say, hey, yeah, I may have other children out there, but none of them are entitled to anything. Everything goes in.
Can I ask you this? Is it a thing that you can create so people can go directly and see everything that they need to do, and the possibilities and all the things that we're talking right now?
you can go to LegalZoom and look for templates that outline all that stuff where
I'm
it talks
talking about sending them to you.
it's send them to me.
Why not?
Well,
You got all this, but okay, LegalZoom, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, I'll gladly help people. Don't get me wrong, but I was gonna say, you know, if you want to save some time, you can go to LegalZoom and you can either find the information you're looking for. You can download templates to kind of identify what you want to record in terms of living wills or estate planning or whatever the case. But none of it means nothing if you don't get it notarized and registered with the county or
Right.
put it somewhere where it can be read at the time of your death. I think that's where people get things confused, right?
Right.
Because all of a sudden, yeah, daddy left a will, but all of a sudden here's a new will that just popped up. And they're trying to figure out which will is valid because one will leaves everything to the brother. The other will leaves everything to the sister. You
Right.
know, so having it registered with the county is very critical too. When you create a will, you know, register it with the county. Or like I said, I think the best way these days to avoid all of that is to use technology.
Video.
Yeah. Create a video, say, hey, my name is such and such, today is such and such and such and such, and then email it to somebody. And that email stamp it proves it's a legal document. So if something comes behind it, a paper one or another quote unquote video or something, well, we say, well, this was the most recent one. And that's how you can handle that. But
Okay.
I think the most important thing is to do something. You know, a lot of people, I don't know why our community is afraid to talk about death, but do dangerous shit all the time. You know, we want to ride without seatbelts.
This is, you know, white people, I'm gonna say, think differently about it. They got it, you know, it's a real conversation you have with people's families. And one of the ways I encourage people to motivate them for change is I tell them, think about your funeral. You don't want to make no changes. You're going towards this way that you know, you're telling me that the only is death. So let's plan your funeral.
So I look, here's you know, I talk about this all the time. You know, I think we got more time behind us than we have ahead of us for the most part.
Absolutely.
You know? And then you start looking at quality of life, right? I swear, if I make it to like 85 with no issues, I've had a good run. And if I make it to 75 with no issues, that's a blessing. But most people,
our parents, so my mom is hitting 80 something. She's still going and still cuss you out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But most people are dying these days over, you know, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, pancreatic cancer, which will take you out faster than anything. And when you look at it like, well, I'm in my late 40s, but I got maybe a good solid 20 left.
Right.
I mean, solid, you know what I mean? Like, do I really want to take a chance? You know what I mean? Like these days, hell, you can fall down the steps and go out.
Right.
I mean,
let's real talk. I'm gonna shout out to my coworker. My coworker passed away the other day. Rent Price. You know what I'm saying? She was a runner. You know what I mean? She encouraged me a lot of days. We sit and talk. She had her own way. I used to call her Little Napoleon. She about 5'2", but she didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. That was you know, she did her thing. She really worked out in the community. Really pulled people in. It was another awakening for me. Like I learned about it when I got to work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Already when I'm dealing with everybody else, like I had to hold it together and put it out my mind, real talk. Like, and I know she on the other side too. Working with, that's my homie. Yeah. Why wouldn't she be? You know what I mean? Come and check through. You know what I'm saying? So,
and here's the sad reality. The older we get, the faster people die.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we'll probably attend more funerals as we get older. That's the sad reality.
Especially the way they've been coming lately is like
you got
every other month or every month we you're learning that somebody died. If it ain't your family, it's a close friend,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really, as we got older, you start to see your own mortality and you
Yeah.
start
So
thinking about things like that. So I'm very, very happy that you came on and talked about that because it's very important.
yeah,
People get their stuff together, everything financially, and when that time happens, then you got to deal with things emotionally. But go ahead,
but
brother,
start the
carry on.
conversation. Yeah, they got to start the conversation. You know, don't be afraid to go to your loved one. And like I said, if you're a parent, you gotta sit down and not only for your parent, but you gotta do it as for yourself, for your children.
Right.
Be able to
Right.
say, hey, okay, if something happens now, and I remember when my kids were a lot younger. I mean, my wife, I think we started our estate planning maybe 20 years ago. And I was like, well, who do we want to raise our children if something happens? That's tough. Because you start
Yeah.
looking around like my brother's an idiot. Like the stuff we used to do. I couldn't trust him with my kids. You know what I mean? Or I say that jokingly. Or, what if you have like in my case, I got a brother in Florida, one in California. They're not coming up here to raise no kids. My kids ain't going out there. Then you start looking at, okay, her side of the family versus my side of the family. Like a lot of people need to sit down and think about that.
That kind of stuff. Real talk.
Yeah, because people having aneurysms. Having an aneurysm and
Anything. I call, when you work and you get your insurance policy and stuff like that. I called my daughter and told her what the policy is. I sent her a little text message so it's in so you can roll back. You know what I'm saying? And my bro, I told him what it is and how much it is, so it ain't no problem. You know what I'm saying? Make sure I'm good. But I know I got to put it in writing. Real talk. It's been a whole lot of awakenings. Like if that thing keep hitting me like that back to back, you know what I'm saying? Like it's telling go ahead and get your ducks in a row.
And if possible, get your brother and your daughter in the same room, so they can look at each other and look at you, and you say, "He's in charge. If something happens, don't try to run amok. No, he's going to handle everything. You handle this, he'll handle that. Right. And at least the verbal conversation, that alone, until you get something in writing, the verbal conversation should be enough to say, okay, we had this, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
So,
all right, well,
it don't exist. I'm gonna say this is what I learned at work, right? This is one of the things working in social services or whatever, mental health, you know what I mean? Just that's all social services. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't in writing, it don't exist.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
If you didn't send in people that's on welfare, if you didn't send in the paperwork,
that's right.
They ain't got
Stop playing.
It don't exist. If you didn't put in the time clock card and you ain't got no stamp, if you didn't put in the time correction form, it don't exist.
That's right.
Anything, if it's not on paper, it don't exist. Period. Yep. So what paper is now, plain and simple, what he's saying is the email, see, mail, but it's an electronic mail. Send an email of you talking about your estate, whatever that state is. If the person got to turn in an EBT card, if you got debit cards, you know what I mean, your Cash App, you know what I'm saying? Everybody got a little money in the Cash App, you know what I mean? The chime card, you know what I'm saying? Write it down for who is supposed to execute that.
And you have to be especially careful with banks, because once the bank gets a wind that you've died, they shut your accounts, they freeze your accounts.
Right.
So that's very critical that's established, that whoever the beneficiary is or whatever, so you can be able to pay your bills. Your kids can pay your bills, or whoever can pay the bills that are due out of that account. So, even basic things like that, all of it comes full circle, when checkout time.
But people do got EBT cards and who got alert welfare that you passed away. You know what I'm saying?
Same thing with Social Security.
That's real talk. Yep. You got to do that.
Yep. Right. So, I mean, I think I think you covered a whole lot. I think we got to some things that need to be said, and that was, that was very enlightening. Hopefully for most of you, it definitely was for me. I have learned a few things tonight, so I would say, we got no time to waste.
That's right.
Stop being out here playing, and if you know you got something you need to do, get to it, and try to be financially responsible, fiscally responsible, and like the brother said, take care of your things, while you're here and doing it, so people don't got to fight over things. You know, that's just good idea to do. But we great sign out, my brother. It definitely has been a pleasure.
Yep.
To see you again, and we're gonna talk.
Wait, I want to ask the question because he asked the question when we wasn't on camera, and I want to ask the
Well,
question about
sis,
the
we don't have a
titties.
whole lot of time, sis. So
okay,
trying
I
to
just
end
want
the
to say
meeting
that at
before.
the
I don't know
end.
what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Next time,
You're
man
breaking up.
titties, breasts, man breasts.
So thank you for coming on the pod, bro. We gonna have you back on again.
I had to pretend like I was froze.
I saw that, and I actually looked, and I thought you really was froze. I said, "Damn, what?"
Yeah.
But that was real good,
man
bro. Well,
all right.
we're gonna thank you all for listening. Again, this was your Don't Listen podcast, conversations with Fatima Mahdi, your boy TP, and my brother from another mother, D.
All right,
and
now.
yes, we are still in the building. And yes, stop playing.
I was waiting
do
for
what you need to do and get them damn financial things right. And peace to you all on your journey.
That's right.
Deuces.